guacamole. All right. That's a lot of energy for a Wednesday. That's a little much for where we are right now. This is wonderful. Thank you so much for all showing up. I didn't know who would show up on a Wednesday, and you guys are like, we're coming. You know? I appreciate it. This is beautiful. I've never been to Stamford before, so it's so good to be here at the New York Comedy Club in Stamford. This is what you think of when you think New York comedy, you know? A mall in Stamford, Connecticut. That's what, you know? When I think of the Big Apple, I think of valet parking in front of the Capitol Grill. That's what I think of. Thank you so much for coming. This is wonderful. What a nice... You guys are so far away. There's like a weird distance there, isn't there? I like it. This is like that's a fall for me. If I go down, I'm not getting up. I will let you know. I got a bad knee. I took a class at the Y this morning, and my wife and I, we signed up at the YMCA, and we took a group class, and I showed up, and it was a lot of older ladies. But I'm not arrogant. I know where my fitness level is, and I'm like, this is going to be tough. And it was. My left knee still hurts. So if I go down, please help. All right? It's not part of the show. TJ and I, the guy you saw earlier, he and I drove up. I just moved to New York City. I live in Brooklyn. And he picked me up and we drove up here. And I don't have a car. That was like one of the exciting things of moving to New York City from San Diego. I was like, I can get rid of my Honda Fit. And I don't have to tell people I drive a Honda Fit. You know? Having no car is better than driving a Honda Fit. Because when I would tell people I drove a Honda Fit, they're like, oh, things aren't going too good, huh? And I'm like, what? There's so much room for groceries. It's a sensible vehicle. But now, if you just tell people you don't have a car, they're like, wow, you're so good. You're a good person. They think I'm helping the environment by risking my life on the subway every day. You know? And so I don't have a car. So he came and picked me up. We drove up here, and the entire drive was a reminder of how happy I am to not have a car in this part of the country. I saw madness out there. I saw madness. We almost got hit doing 0 miles an hour, which I've never had that happen before. I don't even know what street we were on. We weren't moving, and there's a street coming this way. They have a stop sign that says, stop. But it just meant creep. And they were getting so close that I'm like, we should exchange information, at least. They just kept creeping on us. And I'm like, what's happening right now? And TJ's like, yeah, this is how they drive here. And I'm like, I would lose my mind if that's what happened. And then we were on the freeway. I don't know if it was a freeway or just, I don't know. You guys have different ones here, you know? In California, we had interstates, and you guys have different ones that look like interstates, but they're not, and some are, but they aren't. And you have speed limits on them, but no one can go them because there's too many people on them. So it's just kind of a tease, isn't it? You know, they're like, you could go 60 if it wasn't for everyone in front of you. So you're just gonna roll along at about 15. How do you care about that? But we were on some road, and there was a dude on a scooter, no helmet. Which I don't know if you guys have helmet laws or if this is a show your intelligence state. But no helmet on a scooter, not a motorcycle, a scooter. So he's extra tough. Like, I don't even think scooters are allowed on the interstate. I think you're supposed to ride those on sidewalks to deliver soup. Like, I think that's what those are made for. This guy's on the interstate in a scooter, no helmet, ass crack sticking out. A lot of it, all right? A lot of it. Like, enough that I was about to talk about it until I realized what he was doing. He stopped on the freeway because things were going slow enough. And he picked up a rock and he took off to chase another vehicle that he was apparently in a road rage situation with. And this car was trying to get away from this ass crack scooter, and he's just waving a rock. And TJ didn't say anything about it, which scared the hell out of me. Because that let me know this is just Wednesday. That's what that let me know. I think he just kind of looked at me. He's like, I'm glad it's not a gun. And I'm like, it gets worse? Man. It's pretty impressive when you have no helmet on a scooter on the interstate and 2 feet of your ass crack is sticking out. And that's not the weirdest thing that happened. It's like, what about that rock he's about to bludgeon that person with? I like it. I'm trying to fit in. I'm trying to fit into big city living. I grew up in the suburbs of San Diego in a trailer park, which I don't know if you guys have trailer parks out here. I haven't seen any. But it's different. It's different, and I'm trying to get used to not reacting to every noise I hear. Like I've noticed that if you walk around the city and you hear someone just yell, "Ah!" you don't have to look. You don't have to stop what you're doing and go, "Huh?" That's like a really big lesson to learn, you know? If someone's just like, "Hey!" You don't have to look at that. You don't have to look and make eye contact with the last person you've ever wanted to make eye contact with. Because I'm the worst. Once I make eye contact, I can't break eye contact. I have that disorder, whatever that is. If I make eye contact with somebody, I'm like, we're in this now. Hey! And I'm like, I want to break away, but I can't. I don't know what that part is. Why can't I break eye contact once I've gotten in? I don't know. It's weird. It's dangerous, but it's exciting. I like it. I like a little bit of excitement. It feels good. California, what's happening out there? A fire? Ah. You see that coming, you know? On the subway, you're like, ugh. Might get shoved. I might jump. Don't know. That was a little dark. I apologize. You guys are like, why don't you temper it down? It's Wednesday. But yeah, I like it. There's good camaraderie in the city. I feel like there's an understanding. I feel like there's a good community there. I feel like there is. Like we were on the train. I did a show and I was on the train home, and there was a wild man that got on the train. I don't know the new term, so I apologize. I know the one I think it is, but I'm probably wrong because they always change the term. And so I'm just going to make up my own. All right, I'm going to take a guess. It's probably going to be the next term. All right, he was mentally spectacular. He came on. I actually think that might be the next term. I think I'm ahead of the game. That's not even offensive. It's half a compliment if you think about it. A mentally spectacular man came on the train, and he built into a rage. Like he was fine in the beginning, and he crescendoed into a monster truck announcer. And it started slow. It started with ah. You know, like that on a silent car, you're like, and no one looked but me, because I haven't learned not to look, you know. I just heard, ah, and I went, and we made eye contact, and I'm like, damn it. And then I tried to break eye contact, but he had me. But then he broke eye contact, which I'm like, is that a win for me? How does that work? Did I just intimidate him? Hell yeah. I got way more testosterone than I think, you know. I was in that state of mind, and then he broke eye contact and went, ah! And slowly he just built to a fervor and just started fighting ghosts. I don't know what he was doing. He chokeslammed a ghost that didn't exist. I watched him do it, and I was like, that was a picture-perfect chokeslam. Like, if we actually sat down and talked, I think we'd both be wrestling fans. You know, I think we have something to connect on. But here's where I felt the sense of community. There's like 8 of us on the train, and him. And while he was doing his thing, me and this elderly Asian man just kind of we had a moment. And we looked at each other and we just had a moment like, I got you, you know? I was like, I could tell, we didn't even raise an eyebrow. It was just I was like, if something happens, I got you. If something happens, you got me. Like, I felt that understanding. And I'm like, this is the kind of community I was looking to get into. And then at the next stop, he got off. And I'm like, you traitor! You're supposed to get off at 7th. I got more stops. You left me with the crescendo. So that's what it's been out there. It's been, you know, it's been good. Going to the YMCA, working out with the elderly ladies, and it's good. I don't have the knees for it. I don't know. It's been good. I just got married, which I'm really excited about. Yeah. Got the old. It's always. Men never show off the wedding ring. It's always the women, because there's a lot to it. And men, we have stupid fingers. No man has ever had good fingers. Women have beautiful fingers, and they just look good, you know, for fingers. You know, no one ever thinks a finger's beautiful until you see a man's fingers, and you're like, oh, you got a hair? How'd you get a hair out of that? What kind of burn at? What happened to your nails? Did you lose that nail? Like, there's every man's fingers look like they were in a horrible woodshop accident in high school, and sometimes the fingers don't match. It's bad, you know? No one ever shows off the phalanges. And that's the other word for fingers. Sorry, I'm not trying to flex my high school education on you guys, but I heard phalanges once, and it felt appropriate to drop. We got married. That's what I was talking about. We eloped to Italy, which was how we got married. Yeah, we eloped. If you don't know what an elopement is, that's when you realize you can have way more fun at your wedding if nobody comes. That's what an elopement is. That's when you crunch the numbers and you realize, oh my God, if nobody comes, we can go to Italy. If we don't have to feed and drink everybody, we can go to Italy. And then we weighed our love for our family against a trip to Italy, and we're like, au revoir, you know? Which that's not even Italian, but it doesn't matter because they're not coming anyway, you know? You'll find out on another trip. So we went to Italy. We got married in Venice in a empty square at sunrise. We had to wake up early because we didn't want the tourists in our photos. We wanted it to look like we rented out Venice. And you can do that, but you got to get your ass up at 5 a.m. to do that. And so it was just us and like one janitor sweeping. And we got married. It was beautiful. It was amazing. I loved Italy. Italy is the people. They're so vibrant, and there's no shy people in Italy. Everyone's very It's all the caricatures that you ever thought of. They're all there. It's wonderful to see. I even saw an old couple in Florence get into an argument, and they got into in the street, just a full-on and then she's like and then he grabbed her and shook her. He actually shook her, and her head went, and her sunglasses fell off, and she broke away, and it was weird because it was domestic violence, but it was in Italian, so you know what I mean? It was kind of beautiful. It was like we were at the opera, and I'm like, don't call the police. There's a second act. We don't know how this is going to end, you know? It was just the culture, you know? It's a dumb joke, I agree, but that's what I felt. My wife was like, that is so horrible. I'm like, but it's art, you know? Art comes from this. This is good. You see that in Connecticut, you call the cops. You see that in Florence, you're like, let's see where this goes. And it's so beautiful. We don't have beautiful stuff like that. You know, we do, but it's different. It's got an air of grunge to it, you know. I like the East Coast. Maybe it's because I'm new. Maybe in 6 more months I'll be like, I hate it here, and I'm moving back. You know, but I like it. It's just New York City feels like it's a cat. It's pretty much what it is, you know? It's just like a cat. It doesn't need you around. It doesn't necessarily want you around. But if you work hard enough, it might tolerate you. You know? It's exactly what the city is. It doesn't need you. It'll be fine if you never come. But if you work really hard, you might be able to sit on the couch. And not be clawed in the face. It's a little bit right there. But yeah. My wife and I think we're a good match. I know we are, but I also say think because I always want to hedge my bets, you know. We're a good match because I realize together we make a whole person. I think separately, I don't think we should be allowed to vote, but together there's like a normal person. You know what I mean? I think that's what makes a good relationship. Not two complete people getting together, two broken, missing people. But you have to be missing the right things. You have to be missing the things that the other person has so you can kind of fit together like a broken puzzle piece that you're like, it's going to work, you know? That's what it is. Like, here's my example. Like, my wife is a hypochondriac. Every morning she wakes up with a brand new disease. And that's fun, unless you're me. It's pretty wild. Every morning she'll just be like, what's that? Do you hear that? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, that, do you hear that? And she'll hold her wrist to my ear. And she's like, do you hear that? And I'm like, kinda. And she's like, was that there yesterday? I'm like, I don't know. We didn't do this yesterday. I don't have yesterday's wrist noises to compare to today's wrist noises. And she's like, oh, you never listen. And then she leaves. And after like 3 hours of Googling, she comes back and she's like, it's wrist cancer. And I'm like, obviously. You know, what else could it be? So that's who she is. My wife's a hypochondriac. And me, I've had a pain in my left testicle for about 6 years. And I've just been riding that out, you know? See what I mean? Like, separately, but together you're like, okay, yeah, there's like a normal person in between them. And she's like, you should get that testicle checked out. I'm like, all right, but shut up about your wrist, you know? And I actually tried in February to get health insurance to get this checked out. And because here's the reason I never got it checked out. I have a 7-day rule. That's a personal rule. If something hurts on my body, I give it 7 days. And if it still hurts, I'll go to the doctor and get it checked out. But the problem with this testicle pain is it would come for like 2, 3, 4 days. And then it would stop. And then come back like a couple weeks later, and I would start my clock over again. And it was just this year I realized I've been doing that since 2017. So, and she's like, you should get it checked out. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. And so I tried to get health insurance in February. And did you know you can't? Did you know there's a time limit? You guys you've been insured your entire lives. I just let some big cat out of the bag, didn't I? You guys are like, no, we live respectable lives. I've been insured since I was a mere child. On the docks of death. I don't know. I don't know where the docks are here. I was going to guess a town. Hamptons or something. You're not giving me any clues. All right. But yeah, I'll let you know if you can't just get health insurance whenever. And I didn't know that. I did not know that. So I called like an idiot. And I was like, hello, one health insurance, please. And they were like, what? You missed it. And I'm like, missed the health insurance? And they're like, yeah, there's open enrollment from Thanksgiving till the end of January. You missed it. And I'm like, but my testicle hurts now. I don't think you understand. Like, what do you mean open enrollment? She's like, yeah, didn't you see the commercials? I'm like, yeah, I saw the commercials, but you know what else has commercials around January? Gyms. And they're all like, come on in. You can sign up for a discount. That doesn't mean you can't get a gym membership in the summer. That just means you can get it cheaper in January. That's all that means. And they're like, no, this one was a real one. Like, it's closed enrollment. And I'm like, but I got a dull toothache in my left nut. We got to figure this out. And she's like, I don't know how to help you. And I'm like, yeah, well, maybe we can start by not treating health insurance like a pumpkin spice latte where you just have it seasonally. Come on, you know? This is America. Like, as an American, that gets me in the patriotic bones. Like, we don't treat anything else like that. Like, if I was like, hey, I'm going to buy an iPhone tomorrow, and you guys are like, in May? You can't buy an iPhone in May. You got to wait till Labor Day weekend. Everybody knows that. Summer solstice. That's when you get iPhones. This is America. You should be able to get it whenever you want. And I told my wife that, and she's a hypochondriac, so she's immediately like, oh, my God, what if they got to cut it off? And I'm like, why would that be the first thing you say? Why would you go to the worst possible conclusion when you know I can't make an appointment for 9 more months? Why would you take it to the moon? And she goes, what if? And I'm like, I don't know. What if? And she's like, well, do they put another one in there? And I'm like, I hope. I don't think they'd let me leave with half a grocery bag. Just throw me into the streets off balance, you know? It'd be horrible. So, I had just got it checked out last Monday. My wife made an appointment. She's like, this is dumb. You don't need insurance. You're going to pay for it like a real American. And I'm like, what if it's too much? She's like, you're going to go into debt like a real American. And I was like, okay. And she made an appointment with this guy. I'm not making up his name. His name is Dr. Zoltan. His name is Dr. Zoltan. He's a urologist in New York City. And she told me, and I'm like, you picked because of the name, right? She's like, she's like, it's fate. And I'm like, I don't think you know what fate means. But, and she even called to confirm my appointment while I was on the road. And she goes, I called to confirm your appointment. And the receptionist goes, Zoltan is all set to see Dr. Zoltan. And she giggled a little, and I was like, of course. She's like, don't worry, it's not going to be awkward. You guys will laugh, too. And I'm like, yeah, obviously. We're just 2 Zoltans. Just, here are my genitals. You know? I was like, when do you show them off? You know, do you wait for the laughter to die down? I've never done this before. I've never been in a situation where I'm about to show my junk, and there's just been tithering. That's usually not what makes me feel confident, to disrobe. But I went in to see Dr. Zoltan, and I just went in and got naked. My wife came in with me, which I tried to fight her on. And I'm like, let me just go in. And she's like, why? What's the problem if because it feels like when my mom used to come in. to the doctor's office. Don't forget to tell him about the dull toothache in your left nut. And I'm like, that's why we're here, sweetheart. Like, this is why we made the appointment. And she was there, and I just like put my back to her. I'm like, I don't want you to watch another. Like, I don't want you to watch the. This is private, So I'm over there, and I just pulled my pen, and I'm just holding. And he gets down there, and he starts doing his thing. And he's like, I think you're good. And it's so funny because he knew the answer I wanted to hear. He knows what I want. It's the same answer hopefully you guys want to hear if you like me enough. You don't want it to be cancer. That's the only thing you want. And he just goes, oh, okay, I think you have a swollen vein going into this testicle. And I'm like, okay. And he's just like, yeah, we'll get a thing to check that out. And he just says more doctor words. And then finally I'm like, come on, man. Is it cancer? And he goes, no. And I'm like, say that first. That should be the first thing you say. You should go, it's not cancer. And I'd be like, hell, get off me. I don't even care what it is now. As long as it's not that, get the hell off me. There's money on the nightstand, Dr. Zoltan. Get off of me. And I had to go back to do an ultrasound. They do I didn't know that. They do ultrasounds if you're pregnant to see the baby, but they also do it for other things like this. And I didn't know that, so I went back, and it wasn't Dr. Zoltan giving me the ultrasound because they have an ultrasound technician, and it was a lady, that kind of resembled my mother, which I didn't know how to feel about that because I'm like, yay, but no. I'd rather it be a dude, but at the same time, you're like, I don't want it to be anyone that looks like anyone I've ever known. I just want it to be a person without a face. Do you have any urologists without a face? Do you have any of those that just come in, no face and no personality, just a robot, that blah, blah, blah. And then they squirt this jelly on you, and I'm just laying there. And then she was so professional. She just looked straight ahead and just made small talk. She was like, sorry I'm late. I was stuck behind a garbage truck all morning. And I was like, like there's no, I don't know about you guys. My brain's not on in that moment. My brain is on, and it's sad. You don't look impressive in that moment. It's the saddest it's all ever looked, everything. You're like, oh, man, wow. Not that it's ever looked good, but if there was ever a time it's looked bad, then. Just then. And she's like, you're married? And I'm like, what are you trying to say? Like, she's like, I noticed your ring. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. Shut up with the commentary. Yeah, then they checked it out, and then I was like, did you see anything? She's like, I'm not allowed to say because I'm a urologist, or not a urologist, I'm the ultrasound guy, so you have to talk to the doctor. I'm like, that's such a weird, because just let me know. And no, they'll call you. And they called it a remote visit. But you know what it was? A phone call. Just say it's a phone call. I put a shirt on thinking it's a Zoom meeting. I got ready for this remote doctor visit with Dr. Zoltan. I put a shirt on, put my contacts in, combed my hair, tried to make it look like I didn't just wake up, like I'm a productive member of society. And he just called me. I'm like, is this it? Or are you sending me the Zoom link? He's like, we can just do it over the phone. And I'm like, I agree, but why'd you guys call it a remote visit? It's a phone call. Why are you? And I'm like, is it cancer? That's all I wanted. He's like, you're fine. We looked at the thing. And both of your testicles have enlarged veins, actually. And I was like, okay. And and I'm like, is it cancer? He goes, no. And I go, shut up. We don't need to keep talking. I don't have an end for that story, but I don't have testicular cancer, so I'm pretty.
Hey, thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked it, shared it, subscribed to it, hit the notification bell, do all the things YouTube makes you want to do. Other than that, I wanted to let you know that I'm constantly on tour, so go to my website, zoltancomedy.com, and see if I'm coming to a town near you. Thank you kindly.